27,835. That's how many people who have directly immigrated into the Waterloo region in last 5 years. And to put things in perspective, that number is more than double from the previous 5 years average. And to top things up, more than 10,000 people have moved from Toronto to the Waterloo region in the same period of time. And I am one of those families who have relocated from one of the GTA suburbs into the Waterloo region. And this video is about a story of how my journey began for me and my family. And to tell you the truth, never in our wildest dreams we thought that we would ever live in Cambridge or Kitchener. So I'm going to share my raw story with you guys as to how it all started, what prompted us to even consider Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge in the first place, and how it has unfolded since then. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time to this channel, be sure to subscribe and tap that bell so you are the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. My name is Dharmik Dixit. I am a local real estate agent who lives in Kitchener and works in Kitchener, and I have people just like you who reach out to me who are looking for help in making their move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo, and I absolutely love it. So whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. You can call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call. All the info is right below. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. So how it all started, let me tell you, it's a funny story. But back in 2016, 2017, that's around the time we are talking about. And we were renting our apartment in Mississauga around the Square One area. We did not have kids. We were newly married for a couple of years. Me and my wife, we were both working. I was not a real estate agent. And we both had stable jobs. We were saving money on a regular basis for our down payment. Obviously, the next major goal at that point was to own and buy our first house. So that was a Canadian dream, and how it really unfolded is wild. We started looking in and around the Mississauga area, and within our budget, which was around 400,000. Yeah, this might sound crazy, but our budget at that time was around 400,000. We could only find like a 1-bed or 1+ den condominiums in and around the Square One area in Mississauga at that time. We did not think of, expanding our horizon and moving or considering to move outside of the Mississauga, because majority of our friends, majority of our social circles were all in the Greater Toronto area at that time, and we did not ever think of going far away. Now fast forward, we did contact a real estate agent. We saw some homes in the Mississauga area, and we could find only 1-bed or 1+ den with like $500 to $600 of monthly condominium fee on an average. Then we started to look up in Google Maps and all these online tools. They are so much better now, but at that time we only had realtor.ca and some of the Google tools. So we were like, okay, we had heard of a few friends and some families moved into Milton at that time, and within this around same budget, they were able to get something like a stacked townhomes in the Milton area at that time. So we're like, okay, let's look into Milton because it's not too far, and we can possibly, instead of a condominium, we can get something like a townhome. So that's how the thought started. And we are like, okay, this is interesting. When we expand and go further away from Mississauga, we get better options for the same price. And then we kept going further and further on 401, further west. And after Milton, the next big town that you will come across if you're going on 401, that is Cambridge. And we're like, okay, let's see, with an open mind, what kind of real estate prices we find in Cambridge. And we were mind blown. We could find a freehold townhome in Cambridge at that time within the same price range. So we're like, okay, if you have to stick to Mississauga, we can only afford a 1-bed or 1+ den condominium. Versus that, if we move to Cambridge, that would give us a 3-bedroom freehold townhome right next to 401. That's how the wildest thoughts started to work. And we started actively looking in the Cambridge area. And after that, we did not foresee going back to Mississauga or looking at anything else, because you just can't convince yourself enough. And the way your brain functions is, then we were trying to convince ourselves, oh yeah, you know what, it's only 40 minutes from 401 from Cambridge to Mississauga, so we will deal with it. The commute part is not that bad. Even going on highway 10 from one end to another easily takes around 30 to 35 minutes, so this is not too bad because there is no traffic. So that's how we convinced ourselves. And yeah, we ended up buying our first home at that time in the town of Cambridge. And at that time we did not know, but it turned out to be one of the best neighborhoods, at least in my own perspective. Hespeler, like right by town line and 401, that East Hespeler area, we loved it. We even had our first child in that home, and that's how the story really unfolded. And just to this date, it holds true for many families. It's pretty much mind-blowing how many families move into this region solely for the primary reason that real estate prices are so much attractive still to date in the Waterloo region when you compare it with what you can find for the same budget or same price point in the Greater Toronto area. The second roadblock we ran into as we started to look actively into the Waterloo region was the commute part, because me and my wife, we were both working in Mississauga at that time, and my commute was literally 10 to 15 minutes. For my wife, it was just over 20 minutes. So we're like, are we really prepared to commute all the way from Cambridge to Mississauga for work? And we took a wild shot in the dark. And at that time, we did not have kids, so it was still much manageable. And yeah, my wife had flexible hours, so we were commuting together, going back and forth between Mississauga together at that time. And honestly, it worked out. What we did like though is eventually we were both able to find work locally, here in Kitchener-Waterloo. So that was the best part. And my wife has a work from home job now. And even when I moved in after we had our first child, I was able to go for a remote position in my occupation, which was banking at that time. I was working with the Royal Bank, who some of you may not know, but that's how things panned out with the job opportunities. And it still holds true to this date, where many families which I have helped move into the region, they go with the same plan that initially for a few months we might have to commute back and forth, but the goal is to eventually find work here locally. And most of the families that I've helped have been able to do that. So that's a great thing about the Kitchener-Waterloo, and it still holds true to the present day. One of the major concerns that me and my wife had in our mind at that time, and that was kind of a resistance of moving into the new town, was, we are leaving our social circles and our friends and families. People you hang out with are all left behind in Mississauga. Yes, you will obviously meet them, but maybe not as often as you were, right? So that was a major concern. We are, basically moving into a completely new town in a new neighborhood where we don't know anyone virtually. And you will not believe, but we were welcomed with an open arms at that time in the town of Cambridge. I'm still in touch with our neighbors and people living in that neighborhood, and we would bump into when we were walking sometimes. And such a nice and friendly community that the town of Cambridge had to offer, and that goes for the whole Waterloo region, I would say. Even where we live right now, the hardest part if I were to move from where I'm living right now would be to leave my neighbors, because it's such a nice and heartwarming feel to live in the neighborhood that's so great. And I can tell you, you will not believe, but there are literally families, I've helped a couple of families living in East Hespeler who approached me looking for a bigger house. They were living in a townhome and they wanted something bigger. They wanted to upgrade as the family was growing. And we looked into the homes in some of the great neighborhoods in Kitchener and Waterloo. And guess what? They ended up back in Cambridge in the same neighborhood where they were living in. And I'm like, I can exactly relate as to why you ended up there. After living in that neighborhood in that part of Cambridge, it's hard to come out and adjust to something new. So yeah, it's such a nice and friendly, welcoming community we found, and that kind of did work for us. Honestly, it was a big bet that we took, but it works so well for us. How it really unfolded is just amazing. I mean, a lot of things did work great for us. The fact that me and my wife, we were both able to find work locally in a matter of few months, and luckily we did not have kids, so commute was still manageable. and frankly speaking, 401 was not that crazy as it is right now today. So commute was most of the time was a breeze getting to Toronto, especially, attending your families, your friends, 40-minute commute at the most from Cambridge to Mississauga, where we had majority of our families. If I were to sum things up and really tell you, overall, it's just been a rewarding experience. All the chances we took with the commute, with the job situations, all those things kind of did pay off to us in a positive way. And that was just my personal story and how things have unfolded over the past few years since the time we moved into the Waterloo region. And if you are a family who has recently moved in or is considering to move, comment below and let me know what are your thoughts of what you have experienced of this region. Nonetheless, if you did get some value, then be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on that bell so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. And whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you and family relocate in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. Until next time, well, I will show you around town.